2, chapter 5, section 5 notes. Sweet. Okay, time to talk about factoring again. Yeah. Okay, so today we're going to talk about factoring at the GCF of polynomials terms, okay? And factoring polynomials by grouping, okay. So I want to highlight number 1 here real quick, okay? Okay, I want to highlight that. I want to circle it. Okay, I want to put a star. I want to put a star next to it. I want to draw a smiley face next to it. Okay, I want to sign my name on top of it. Okay, all right. This is the first thing you do anytime you factor anything. Okay, we are all going to forget that in 5 days. Okay, I don't want you to though. First thing you do anytime you factor anything. Anything. Okay. Right, the first step of any factoring problem is you look at your terms and you ask yourself, are there any common factors that these two terms have that I can pull out right at the beginning? Right? Okay? All right? Okay. Common factors, okay? So if we look at a polynomial, okay, common factors are going to be they're either going to be, let me see. So they're either going to be, so an example of common factors would be variables that the terms have in common. And it has to be every term. Variables every term has in common. Okay. Or common factors of the coefficients. Right? So here, on part A, right, my two terms here, they don't have any variables in common, right? One has an x, one has nothing. But the coefficients, 16 and 12, do those have common factors? What's the greatest common factor of 16 and 12? 4, yeah. So we pull out a 4. So it becomes 4 times 4x minus 3, okay? If you don't know where the 4x and the 3 came from, I did 16x over 4 and 12 over 4, okay? That gives me my result here. Okay, I pulled out a 4. I divide both my terms by 4, and I write it as 4 times 4x minus 3. How are we feeling about that? Okay. All right. B. All right. Do I have any variables in common? No variables in common. What's the greatest common factor of 28 and 28? 28, thank you. Yep. So we pull out 28. We write x plus 1, okay? One way you can always check, okay, this is another thing that, like, I was teaching this in Algebra 1 last spring, and people kept forgetting. You can always check to see if you factored right. How can you check? What are the two things you check for? Yes. Yes. So you can always redistribute, okay, to see if I get, okay, I can redistribute my factoring. If I get my original problem back, then I did it right, okay? Second thing you need to check for to make sure you got the right answer on a factoring problem. Another mistake you might have made. It might be that you didn't factor it all the way, but we factored this all the way. Did we factor this all the way? Yeah, 28, right? The x plus 1 has no more factors. We can't factor that anymore, okay? You guys will see more examples of that, okay? So let me write that. To check answer, okay? To check your answer, you can do, right, 1, you want to make sure you factor it all the way. Make sure you factor it all the way. Don't leave any difference of squares in there. Make sure you factor it all the way, and you can redistribute to see if you get the original problem back. Okay, you guys feel okay about that? All right. All right. Part C. I'm moving to part C for you guys. Mason. Any variables in common?
With the z and the z over 4 counted, would that have to
It'd be just z. So it's the whichever one. If they have variables in common, it's what you take out whichever one has the lower exponent. So we'll take a z out. We'll pull a z out. And then do my coefficients have any common factors? 5, yeah. So we'll pull out 5z. Right? And then 5z divided by 5z is what?
1.
And then minus 25xz to the 4th divided by 5z is what?
Wouldn't that be negative 5x over z to the 3rd?
Z third. Just times z to the 3rd. Okay. All right. So I pull out the lowest for each variable they have in common. I pull out whichever one has the lower exponent. Okay. So right here 5. Right. My two terms had a z in common. Right. The z with the lower exponent was over here, z to the 1. So I pull it a z to the 1 out of both terms. And then common factors of the coefficients was 5. The GCF of the coefficients was 5, so I pulled that out. Okay? There you go. Middle school math paying off. Now you understand why they taught you GCF. How are we feeling about that? We lost? No? Okay. Maybe we are. No one's saying anything. I don't know. Okay. D. Let's do, I don't know. Let's do Ian. Yeah, Ian's chomping at the bit. Okay, yeah, Ian, what do I want to pull out here? What are common variables?
3 and x.
Yeah, so the coefficients, right? I'll highlight the coefficients in yellow, right? The GCF of all three of those numbers, 6, 9, and 18 is 3. Good job. So you're going to pull out a 3. And then let's look at the coefficients they have in common. They all have an x. They all have an x there, right? And I pull out, why didn't I pull out x squared or x cubed? You got to take out the one with the lowest exponent. Yeah, so 3x, and then what do I write in here, Ian?
6 plus 3x minus 2x.
Good job. Yep, right. 18x over 3x is 6. 9x squared over 3x is 3x. Negative 6x cubed over 3x is 2x squared. Okay? So that's where the numbers inside my parentheses came from. Are you having trouble over here seeing this? Okay. Cool. There you go. There you have it. There you have it. Right. Let's do Ava Scani.
3AB.
Okay, good job. Yeah, so where did the 3 come from, Ava? Let's highlight our coefficients. Where did the 3 come from?
The lowest of the coefficients.
Yeah, so the greatest common factor of 9, 12, and 18 is, what'd you say it was, 3?
Yes.
Yes, 3, so we'll pull out a 3. And looking at our variables that we have in common, right, we had a cubed b here, ab squared, and a squared b, okay? So they all have an a. Okay, they all have an a. What's the lowest a? You see that, the lowest exponent of a? It was 1, right? So we're just going to pull out just an a. And then what was the lowest exponent of b there on all 4 of those terms? Just 1. So we're just going to pull up just a b, okay? And then my 4 terms inside my parentheses are what, Ava?
6A squared.
6a squared, yep. Where'd that come from?
18.
Yeah, right. 18a cubed b over 3ab, right? These cancel. That becomes a 6, so it becomes 6a squared, yep. And then
Negative 4.
-4, then what?
Plus 3B.
Good job.
Minus 4A.
Good job. Yep. So she got each of the terms inside my parentheses, right? By dividing each of my 4 terms by this GCF that we pulled out, okay? So 18 cubed b over 3ab is 6a squared. 12ab over 3ab is -4. 9ab squared over 3ab is 3b. 12a squared b over 3ab is 4a. Feel okay? Big gap. Okay, cool, cool. All right, don't want us to get overwhelmed. Don't want us to get overwhelmed, okay? F. Anyone have any idea for F? everything about f. Okay. No, just lost, at a loss. Okay, here's what's going on here, okay? Let me highlight these two, let me highlight my two terms. And those are my two terms, okay? Those are my two terms, right? The only two things, right? It's a product, and then, you guys see why those are my two terms? Like they're separated by a plus sign? Okay. Right. Okay, so, let me think about the best way to explain this. Coefficients. So this one has a 3, this one has a 1, right? So we can't pull any like numbers out, right? We can't pull any constants out. Any variables they have in common? So this one has an x, this one doesn't have an x, so we can't pull any x's out. They both have what though? They both have y minus 5s. Okay, so I want you to think about y minus 5 as like its own variable almost. You can just pull off that whole thing. So I get 3x plus 1 times y minus 5. So what I did here was I factored a y minus 5 out of both terms. Okay? Okay? I pull a y minus 5 out. Okay? So this first term here comes from the pink term. This second term here comes from the green term. This y minus 5 is what I pulled out. Okay? I got the pink from doing 3x times y minus 5 over y minus 5. That's where I got the pink from. They give me 3x. Okay, I got the green from doing y minus 5 over y minus 5. That's where I got this green from. Okay? And this is what the y minus 5 is what I pulled out. Does that make any sense? Right, so this is just like, imagine if I had like 3x y plus y, right? You would have done y times 3x plus 1. It's the same deal, but instead of a y, we just have a y minus 5 here. So everywhere we would have originally written a y, we just write a y minus 5. Okay, I want to make sure we understand. Okay. Okay, that's pulling out common factors. Okay, that's the first thing you do every time. That's my answer right here. Yeah, first thing you do, anytime you are given any sort of factoring problem, you pull out the GCF. Pull out the GCF, okay? Then you can continue factoring, okay? You can continue factoring such as on a problem like this, by grouping, okay? First thing I do, I check for common factors. Are there any common factors? So my coefficients are 1, 5, and 5. Their only common factor is 1, so I don't do anything with that. Is there any variable that every single term has? No, okay. So I'm done with that, done with the first step, okay? Now we're going to do what's called grouping, okay? So a lot of the time, you're going to do factor by grouping. I'm going to say this. Try grouping if you have 4 terms. Right? Try grouping. A lot of grouping factor problems have 4 terms in them, okay? Right? So this one has 4 terms, so we're thinking maybe we need to group, okay? Here's how you group. Here's how you factor by grouping. First, you group your terms. So put parentheses around the first 2 and the last 2. Okay. Now, let me make these parentheses different colors. Now what you do is you factor a GCF out of each pair. Okay, so that first pair here, what's the GCF there?
Y.
Y. So I'm going to pull Y. I pull Y, that gives me Y times X plus 1. That the blue pair, what's the group GCF there? It's just 5, yeah. 5 times X plus 1. Now, this is just like my last problem up here, right? What can I pull out? So I have 2 terms. Right, I have 2 terms. What can I pull out of both my orange and my yellow term? X plus 1, yeah, X plus 1. So y plus 5 times X plus 1. Okay. Feeling okay? Yes, Ella. Okay, yeah. No worries. I was expecting a lot of confusion on this lesson. So did you see what we did, like the first step, here to here? Okay. And then you're confused now going here to here? Okay. So if I gave you like y times u plus 5 times u, right? And I told you to factor out a GCF, you would pull what out? U, yeah? Right? And then you do that, okay? Notice that this is the exact same thing. So going from here to here, you did the exact same thing, except instead of there being a u next to your y and a u next to your 5, there was an x plus 1. Okay? So we're basically, what we're doing is we're treating this piece in parentheses here, we're treating that as one number, basically. And we're pulling that out. Does that make any sense? Okay. Right? Yeah, so like notice that these are like the same thing. Except instead of a u there, we have an x plus 1. We just treat the x plus 1 as like one entity. Pull it out. All right, 2y minus 12 minus xy plus 6. Are there any GCFs that all 4 terms have in common? No. Yep, we always check that first. Now, okay, now there's 4 terms, so maybe it's a grouping problem, okay? So Leah, what's the first thing I do? Yeah, I gotta group my terms. That's why it's called grouping. All right, and then Leah, what can I pull out of my red parentheses? A 2. Okay. And then Leah, what can I pull out of my blue parentheses? X. This should be minus 6. That should be 1 minus 6. So let's think about this, guys. So I want to throw some caution to the wind here, okay? When you're doing a grouping problem, right? It's like this first one or the second one we did, right? It was a grouping problem, this first one, but there was a plus inside my 2 sets of parentheses. Easy peasy, right? If there's a minus inside there, I want to throw some caution to the wind, okay? Okay, I got to throw some caution to the wind. What happens here, if there's a minus sign, okay? Here's how I want to explain this. So there's a minus sign here, right? Okay? When I put my blue parentheses around these 2 guys, when I do that, this needs to become a minus. Okay? Otherwise, then I pull out my x. Then I pull my x and I get y minus 6, okay? If I had left this as a plus, when we went back to redistribute, we went back and redistributed my x, right? We get what? We get minus xy minus 6x, right? That's not the same as what we had up here, right? These 2 signs are different, right? So you got to make sure if there's a minus in the middle here, when you put that second pair of parentheses around those 3rd and 4th terms, you got to change that sign. Does that make any sense? Or else you get the wrong answer back. Sneaky. I make that mistake all the time. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. Okay? So putting that there allows us to write this as y minus 6. And then Leah, what do I rewrite that as? Yep, times what? Yeah, good job. Yep. So here, right, we're going to run into the same problem, right? What do I check for first? GCFs of the whole thing, right? Does the whole thing, do any of them have a common factor and or a common variable? No. So I'm done with that check. Now I do what, Charlie?
Then you would separate it into.
Yeah, so put the red parentheses around. All right, there's a minus sign in the middle here, so what do I need to do? Yeah, so when I put my blue parentheses around, I need to change this to a plus. Okay. Okay, and then Charlie, what do I pull out of the red?
You pull out X.
Yeah. What do I pull out of the blue?
You pull out.
GCF of 7 and 63. Yeah. What's my final answer then? So it's going to be, take these coefficients here.
Yeah.
That's going to be your first factor. Your second factor is going to be whatever is right. Okay. Yeah, so another way of thinking about this, Ella, is once you're at this part, I think you know how to get to this part, okay? Once you're here, right, you just take the number on the outside, that becomes one of your parentheses. The other one is just the same as what was inside the parentheses. That makes sense too? Yeah. All right, D. Joey.
Separate them.
Yeah. No, you forgot something. What do we
Um,
always do? Check for what?
the
GCFs that all four of them have in common, right? Do we have a GCF? No. Okay. So now we group, right? The red. Do I need to flip the sign inside the blue set of parentheses? Why? Why no? Because it's a positive and not a negative. So I don't need to flip that second sign. Okay. Now what do I pull out of the red parentheses, Joey?
5x.
Yeah. Good job. Oh. Okay. Okay. There we go. All right. Pull out a 5x. All right, what do I pull out of my blue parentheses, Joey?
Just a 7.
Just a 7. Wow. Insulting. Okay. All right, and then what's my final answer?
Would be 5x plus 7, y minus 2.
Yeah. Let's check. Am I factoring all the way? Yes, I am. Yeah. Right. How do we check our work here? Let's go ahead and check this. Right. For two things I check for. What are the two things I check for to check my answer? I can do two things. So I want to make sure my answer is factored all the way, right? So these two factors here should be prime. I can't keep going on this one. I can't keep going on this one, right? No, I can't pull anything out. All right, then what's the second thing I can do to check my answer? Just spoil it. I can just multiply it back out and see if I get my original problem back. So first, outer minus 10x, inner, last. Yep, and I get my original problem back. Okay. That's it for part D. All right, we got 6 polynomials to factor. Let's factor that. Chris Collister. Hey, right there. What do? What's my first step I always do? Yeah, what do I take out? Check for a GCF. There is a GCF. What is the GCF? 4 x. Yeah, 4x. Yep, and then what's inside the parentheses then? Chris? Good job. All right, 2 things I need to check for. Can I go any farther here? Is there anything else? Am I factored all the way? Did I forget anything? I did not. I didn't. No, I didn't. And then I can do what to check my work, Chris? Someone help him out. Go ahead and multiply, yeah. I think, yeah, 6 you can redistribute. Right? And when I do that, right, I get my original problem back. You guys see what I mean by how to check your work? someone not see what I mean? B. Let's go with Danny Hall. How do I do B? What do I do? GCF. GCF there. So yeah, the GCF of the numbers, the coefficients is 9. I can do X, and I can pull out a Y. Yeah, because they both. So yeah, I want to say this. Let me just say this. Okay. Right, both terms have X on them, and the lowest exponent on X is 1, so you pull it just an X. And then both terms have a Y, and the lowest exponent on Y is 1, so you pull out just a Y. And then Danny, what's in my parentheses?
Negative 3y squared plus 2x cubed.
Yeah. And then can I keep factoring anymore? Can I keep going? No. I can't keep going. And then what do I do to check? Redistribute, yeah. Negative 27xy cubed plus 18 x to the fourth y. Okay. Hopefully, if you understand by now, hopefully you're realizing that factoring is just reverse, like multiplying, like reverse boiling. If you're understanding that, then you're starting to like really grasp the concept. Okay. Let's call a girl. Let's do Maggie. Yep. What's my GCF here? Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, let's do it. So, and then what do I write inside my parentheses?
4a b to the second c, then minus 6 b to the second c minus 4c plus 6.
Good job. What's 6 divided by 2?
Oh, 3.
Just be careful. I hate seeing people get problems wrong because they made a little mistake. I hate it. Ah. Okay. I think we're done. Can this be? I want to add. Let me just ask you this, Maggie. Can these 4 terms, can they be factored at all? Maybe by grouping? What do you think? Anytime you see 4 terms, you just think, let me check to see if these can be factored by grouping.
Oh wait, no. Wait, I don't know.
Let's see. Actually, they can. This is kind of hard though, but they can. Okay, so let's do this. 2a. I'm going to reorder these. I'm going to reorder the 4 terms here. Okay. So if I do 4a b squared c minus 4c then minus 6b squared c plus 3, and then let me put red parentheses around the first 2, blue parentheses around the second 2, and then I got to switch that sign, right? Got to switch that sign in the middle. Now, what, Maggie? What can I pull out of the red?
2c.
2c, yeah. And what can I pull out of the blue? 3. Okay, cool. So I can't. So here, right, I tried grouping, but these 2 don't match. So the guys I just highlighted, they don't match. So I can't actually factor by grouping. So this is my answer.
Are you supposed to try and do that every time?
I don't think so. Let me talk to Mrs. Hollis. I don't know if she'd give you one that was that hard. That seems kind of like a curveball. To have to like see it and like reorder it. It takes many years of training before you just kind of like see, yeah. I just want to make sure you guys get the point. Make sure you factor it all the way down. Make sure you break it all the way down. Yeah. I just saw what happened here was I was looking at this and I saw like two pairs with common factors, and that's like a tip off to grouping. Yeah. Yeah. But ended up not being able to do it. I think all the groupings they're going to give you, like you'll be able to see it pretty obviously. Like you'll see it'll like these two, and these two will like clearly have common factors. Like I don't think you'll have to like reorder the terms. That seems like an honors problem to me. So Catherine will probably have to do that, yeah. Not us. Anyway, D. Can I move on to D? Here's a game, put in front of me, please. All right, Paige, do D for me, please. Factor it. We're not distributing. We're factoring. How do I factor this?
Is it just 9y minus 4, and then c plus 2?
Yeah, good job. Yep. So I have two terms here, right? The yellow term and the orange term, right? Paige saw my GCF here, right? And then she took the 9y, put it there, took the 4 over there. The minus 4. Make sure you take it's a minus 4 you gotta take out. Take the sign. You guys feel okay about that one? And what can I do to check? Make sure you factored it all the way. Did I factor it all the way? Any more GCFs or no? Any more CFs? Okay. And then I can always FOIL back out. Okay. Anyone on part E? Part E here. Emily and Sheldon just chilling in the back. All right. Okay. Let's have Emily. Let's have Emily do E. Okay, you're just like ripping through this one. Can you just slow down a bit? What's the first thing you do? I check for a GCF. Do the 4 of them? Do all 4 together have any GCFs? No, right? And then so what am I going to do? I have 4 terms, right? So you're thinking what? You're thinking grouping, right? So let me do my red parentheses, my blue parentheses, okay? Do I need to change this sign here or no? Why not? There's an addition here. There's a plus here in the middle, not a minus, so I don't need to change this. Okay, good. And then what'd you pull out of the red one, Emily? She pulled 4x out, and then what do I write in the red parentheses? Yeah, good job. Maybe 2. And then what do I write in the, I do write a plus, what do I write outside my blue parentheses? And then what's inside? And what's my final results? 4x plus 7, right? Times y minus 2. Good job. I know you. All right, Sheldon. All right, no GCS. What do I do now? Yeah, I've got 4 terms, so it takes me off to group. Start grouping. Do I need to change this sign here? No, why not? It's a plus in the middle instead of a minus. Okay. And what do I pull out of the red parentheses? X squared. What do I write inside the red parentheses? X plus 5. What about my blue parentheses? Yeah, just leave it by itself. Why do I leave it by itself? Yeah. And that's okay because x plus 5 and x, the red and the blue are the same. Right? If you pull out your two, if you do your 2 pairs of parentheses, you pull out your GCF from both, right? And they have the same thing here, that means it can be factored by grouping. If they didn't have the same thing here, they couldn't be factored. Does that make sense? And what's my final results here, Sheldon? Yeah, I'm confused, Sheldon. Where did this 1 come from? So there's technically a 1 here, right? Technically a 1 right there, okay? And this first binomial factor, right, is these 2. Okay? How are we feeling about this, guys? Are we feeling okay? Is that really confusing or no? Okay. Homework for tomorrow is on Schoology. Make sure you take pictures of the textbook. We got 5 minutes left, guys. We got 5 minutes left. All right. Cool. Good stuff. Cash. Cash.